Senator Markwayne Mullin, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Last weekend we saw, of course, the mass shooting at Brown University. We saw this attack on a Hanukkah celebration in Australia. And as one would expect in the wake of that, there are calls for gun control, both in Australia and here in the United States. So what is your response to that? And is there anything that Congress can do in order to potentially prevent something like this from happening more in the future?
And I hate to say it as a cliche, but the gun doesn't kill anybody. It's the behavior behind the gun that kills somebody. And the first thing the left wants to do is blame something. But if you actually want to break it down, when you look at murders by knives or by blunt objects, they far outweigh whatever takes place with a gun. And anybody that's sane, that wants to go in and kill innocent victims, and they use a gun to do it, there's either a radicalization, which is a mental illness, by the way, or there's usually a drug addiction, or that is being fed by some fantasy that they see themselves as. And that's the root of the problem. That's what we need to be looking at. You're not going to keep weapons out of bad guys' hands. You're just going to keep law-abiding citizens from being able to protect themselves.
Just to switch gears, this week the U.S. conducted another strike on those narco trafficking boats that we've all heard so much about. And the senators, including yourself, got a briefing from Pete Hegseth. So what do you want the American people to know about all of these? And what do you say about the level of transparency that you and the Senate have actually been given by the Department of War on this?
Well, first of all, I hate that the Democrats are making this about politics, because that's all it is. And because I'll just shoot real numbers here. The Biden administration used these same powers that Congress has given. They did it 500 times, killed 3,700 individuals, including American citizens. Not one Democrat ever raised a concern about it. Now we have 24 terrorist organizations that are cartels that's poisoning our streets. And to look at the real numbers, over 66,200 individuals were killed in 2024 by this poison on our streets. That's more than 10,000 more that was killed U.S. personnel in Vietnam. And for the fact that the Democrats are saying that they need more transparency, when now to date, as you and I are sitting here recording this today, 23 bipartisan briefings have been given, and it's still not transparent enough. Why? Because it's about political rhetoric. The difference between what's happening now and what's happening then is the hemisphere that's operating in. That's it. The hypocrisy is so thick and so ridiculous that it would be laughable if it wasn't for the fact that we're dealing with real people's lives. 71% of the American people say, yeah, send them to the bottom of the ocean. Let them rot in hell. Because we have no feelings for you when you're trying to poison our streets. That's unfortunately, you find the Democrats on the opposite side of this again.
In a recent social media post, you compared the United States economy to an aircraft carrier, saying it takes a long time to turn something that large around.
Right.
And I think that is such a smart metaphor for the economy. It took a long time to bury us in the hole that we found ourselves in when President Trump took office. It's going to take a while to get us back, but we're headed in the right direction.
Absolutely. You had President Trump that came out of his first term, and the economy was, even with COVID, the economy was on such a heavy right track that you think it would take, you'd have to do it on purpose to run the economy. All you had to do is just continue the track. But yet you had the Biden administration came in and undid everything, and the economy collapsed. Inflation went to 9.5%. You had energy prices spiking. You had jobs being lost every single quarter. And then the president comes in, and the first thing the Democrats start talking about is affordability. They never talked about affordability for the last 4 years. Why isn't it happening fast enough? And you look at the inflation went from a high of 9.5% to an average of 2.4% underneath President Trump. You see private sector jobs soaring higher than we've seen them in literally years. We're so farther down the road than any other president could even think about it. And in 11 months, it's remarkable what we've achieved with President Trump's leadership. But it is true. They want it done right now. And I made the comparison that on the weekends during the summer, I love throwing my kids off the tube. And when I throw them off, man, I can spin my boat around on a dime and go pick them up. And I can be there in a second. But an aircraft carrier takes a mile to turn around. We have the largest economy in the world. And he's turning it as hard as he can, but it still takes a mile to turn around the aircraft carrier. And we're going to get there. And no one could do it faster than President Trump.
Well, speaking of social media, you've been very popular on social media. And lately, we feel like you've kind of pulled the curtain back here at the Capitol for the American people to see. Why have you felt like that's important, to be so transparent and to kind of give us a front row seat to what goes on here?
Sometimes in Washington, D.C., it can be hurry up and wait. But when we started filming time, it was amazing how much response we got by just talking about it. And then we got long boats taking people around the Capitol and showing stuff around the Capitol, because we have a beautiful, beautiful Capitol that people don't ever get to see. But then actually be able to talk and explain to people what's happening, what the procedures are. Because the rules up here that we have to, and the procedures we have to go by in the Senate, they don't make any sense. And it just frustrates people, especially individuals in the private sector, like, why can't you just do this? The question is, well, that's a good question. Let's go find out why we can't do it. And then you start figuring out all the procedures that go in place. And then when you start posting it, people are like, no wonder why you guys can't get anything done. Change the rules, which is why the president is like, okay, hey, maybe we need to start talking about the filibuster. It's one of those rules that the American people are getting upset about. One of those things we pulled back the curtain and going, should we take a look at what's bogging us down? And that's one of those things that we try to expose, is just saying, hey, this is what's ridiculous. This is something we need to take a look at, take a serious look at. If we're going to govern, then what's in our way?
We're almost in a midterm year.
Yes.
Everybody wants to talk about the midterms. So where do you see things for the Republicans as we head towards next November?
The president has set a floor in the Senate. So let me talk about the Senate first. All 3 elections, he's won 25 states. But he's added to that. Last time, we got 32 states. We've been in session more days than ever up here. So if we continue that pace, American people are going to know that we're working for them. And we'll be able to deliver them and hopefully be rewarded for it in the midterm election. However, if we fumble it, and because politics is a 24-hour cycle, we could find ourselves where the midterm, sometimes people lose enthusiasm. Right? And that could happen, because you saw these in some of the elections. It wasn't that the Democrats turned out in higher proportions. Republicans turned out in lower proportions. The fact is, we all have to go out there and win our elections, and we got to have something to get our base excited for. And President Trump's our champion, but we're the players. He's the coach, and we're the players. And people like supporting their players.
If you had to give your Senate colleagues a grade for the year 2025, as you said, you guys have been here more than you've ever had to be here. What grade would you give your Senate colleagues?
As frustrated as I have been with some things up here, knowing what it's like, what we had to overcome, the accomplishments that we were able to get done, the nominations we were able to do. I mean, keep in mind, we got 90% of the president's nominees, civilian nominees, done. That's more than Obama, that's more than Bush, that's more than Trump in his first, that's more than Biden by far. The fact that we were able to come that, I would say we give us a solid A+, because we have broke just about every record that previous Senate has been able to do. And that's been underneath the leadership of John Thune, of John Brasso, working step in step with the White House every single day. And that pace is set by the leader, and that leader is President Trump. And so because of that, he's forced us to be better.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.